All right, hello, we're back. It's actually been 2.5 months since my last reading, because of a friend passing away, and other things going on that just made life not go quite as smoothly and conveniently, conducively for doing this. But I'm trying to get back into it. I've had a couple attempts during these past 2 months, but ended up having seizures with only a few minutes in. So I scrapped those recordings and starting again on Chapter 6, Commentary of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, platform 9 3/4. So this will be the first one, live recording or real-time update on it. My old channel, not where I initially started doing these recordings, posting them, but that's because YouTube started cracking down on the audiobook readings for copyright issues. So like Bibliobabuli and a few others had to take down all their videos, or most of their videos, until they can get official permission with copyright and through an official audiobook. Hopefully they managed to do that, because they do a very good reading, better than mine are. But I can't post my clean readings on YouTube for copyright issues. But I've created a website, a subdomain on my website where the clean readings are posted, and other reaction videos of movies, TV shows. I got Secrets of Dumbledore uploaded, the first 2 episodes of Arrow, an episode of Halo, and something else I did. There'll be a lot more to come. I'm gonna watch Dune out on the dunes, so that should be interesting. But I haven't felt up to doing that yet. Been talking about it for a long time, just haven't gotten to it. Allergies are better than they were in previous videos, but they're still not great, because I'm back down here next to the place where my allergies were bad. I didn't want to be down here, but I ended up having to be. Doctor's issues and disability stuff and life. Excuse me. All right. Well, let's get back into this commentated reading. This is commentary discussion, not copyright infringed audiobook stuff. This is for fans who have already read the books several times. Please, if you have not read the books already, if you don't own them, if you're new to Harry Potter and stuff, please stop watching, because copyright issues. I don't want to do that. So if you have not watched Harry Potter, not read Harry Potter before, please stop watching this. If you have read Harry Potter before, continue, and we will enjoy discussing, commentating, and ripping into J.K. Rowling's writings respectfully, courteously, and funly. It's all in fun. It's all in good fun. I've got some music playing in my ear. I can't play it outward because of copyright. Can't get the music copyright strikes and things like that. So I may put some other copyright-free audio in here. We shall see when I get to the edit, see how it sounds, if I want to do that or not. Right, so let us begin now. Actually move my monitor a little bit over so I'm looking more directly at the camera. So let us begin the commentation of Chapter 6, The Journey from Platform 9 3/4, here on Platform 9 3/4. Let's see. Okay. Start off where we left off. Hagrid had taken Harry to Diagon Alley the morning of Harry's birthday, and they went to Diagon Alley, did all this fun stuff, all those things that's in the previous commentation reading. But then Hagrid took Harry back to Privet Drive. But the Dursleys, on the other hand, were still left out in the hut on the rock on the sea with no boat. No boat to get back to shore. And who knows when the old man that owned the boat realized that the Dursleys were still out there. So who knows how long the Dursleys were out in the hut. How many TV shows did Dursley miss? Probably quite a few. And I'm guessing that because Hagrid managed to get Harry back to Privet Drive the same day, still on Harry's birthday, July 31st, I'm guessing it took longer than one day for the Dursleys to get back from the hut on the rock on the sea. So Harry probably got back to an empty house. And evidently managed to not blow up the house for however length of time that Harry was there alone in number 4 Privet Drive before the Dursleys, angry to all heck, got back after being left out at sea. Abandoned. Oh. If the Dursleys weren't so scared of Harry now, they probably would have locked him back up in the cupboard. But now they're absolutely terrified, and so Harry won't have to go back to that cupboard, despite deserving a very large punishment, at least by past precedents. Past precedents would give Harry a very long punishment and no meals. Yes, the movies put Hagrid taking Harry to the train station a month later. So Harry was with Hagrid for an entire month in the movie. In the book, just one day. And Harry had to go back to number 4 Privet Drive for a month with the Dursleys. Harry's last month with the Dursleys wasn't fun. True, Dudley was now so scared of Harry, he wouldn't stay in the same room. Well, Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon didn't shut Harry in his cupboard, force him to do anything. No cooking bacon, or shout at him. In fact, they didn't speak to him at all. They just gave him a silent treatment because they were so angry at being left out in the hut on the rock on the sea for days, and then coming back to find that Harry is in the house by himself. Probably have eaten quite a bit, probably played on Dudley's computer a bit, watched some television programs that he wanted to watch. Yeah, I bet that was a pretty enjoyable few days until the Dursleys got home, enraged. Half terrified, half furious, they acted as though any chair with Harry in it were empty. Although this was an improvement in many ways, it did become a bit depressing after a while. Harry is having to essentially isolate, well, not isolated. Being treated as if they were all isolating. And we all know how depressing isolation can be, and how mentally distressing. It is. Harry kept to his new room with his new owl for company. Just spit on my book. He had decided to call her Hedwig, a name he found in A History of Magic. Harry opened A History of Magic. He read the book. He read part of the book. That's probably the first time, well, I mean, obviously the first time, but probably the last time that he actually opened the book. Though, maybe in some of the goblin riots, maybe he opened it for a little bit, or at least read over Hermione's shoulder. Let Hermione do all the reading and studying and just write down stuff with random names for goblins. His school books were very interesting. He lay on his bed reading late into the night, like Hermione does. Yeah, so, I mean, what did he read? What ones did he discover? What spells did he learn prior to going to school? Did he read Defense Against the Dark Arts? Any of those? What did he think of this potions book? That's what I want to know. And Hedwig, swooping in and out of the open window as she pleased. Ah, good old Hedwig. Enjoy it while you can. Enjoy the freedom while you have it. His next summer, not quite so much. It was lucky that Aunt Petunia didn't come in to vacuum anymore, because Hedwig kept bringing back dead mice. It's like a cat, but worse. Every night before he went to sleep, Harry ticked off another day on the piece of paper he had pinned to the wall. But just a piece of paper, because he didn't actually have a calendar. Just a piece of paper, counting down to September the 1st. Because it is not so yet. He's got a month to go through from leaving Hagrid to having to going to King's Cross. On the last day of August, he thought he'd better speak to his aunt and uncle about getting to King's Cross Station the next day. 'Cause how else are you going to? You can jump on the train again, like you did before, but it'd be a little bit chaotic, or even more confusing and concerning than what it's going to be. So he went down to the living room where they were watching a quiz show on television. I wonder what show it was. Were they watching Jeopardy? He cleared his throat to let them know he was there, and Dudley screamed and ran from the room. Uncle Vernon? Uncle Vernon grunted to show he was listening. Yeah. Use your words. Speak. I don't understand grunts. I need to be at King's Cross tomorrow to go to Hogwarts. He said the name of the school. Uncle Vernon grunted again. Would it be all right if you gave me a lift? Yeah, grunt. Harry supposed that meant yes. Thank you. He was about to go back upstairs when Uncle Vernon actually spoke. Funny way to get to a wizard school, the train. Magic carpets all got punctures, have they? Okay. It's an interesting question to ask. But why not? Why not use the train to get to a wizarding school? Harry didn't say anything. Where is this school, anyway? I don't know, said Harry, realizing this for the first time. He pulled the ticket Hagrid had given him out of his pocket, because he had kept it in his pocket the entire time. I just take the train from platform 9 3/4 at 11 o'clock, he read. His aunt and uncle stared. They actually turned and looked at him. Platform what? 9 3/4. Don't talk rubbish, said Uncle Vernon. There is no platform 9 3/4. But it's on my ticket. They're wizards. You know, wizards can do some strange things. And you kind of already know that. Harry at least does. Barking, said Uncle Vernon. Oh, barking. There's a reference. It's a good reference to coming up later. Howling mad. A lot of them. You'll see. You just wait. All right, we'll take you to King's Cross. We're going up to London tomorrow anyway, or I wouldn't bother. And why are you going to London? Harry asked, trying to keep things friendly. Taking Dudley to the hospital, growled Uncle Vernon after saying, don't ask questions. Got to have that ruddy tail removed before he goes to Smeltings. That would be very embarrassing. And where... How? And what did the hospital, the Muggle hospital, think when he came in with a pig's tail? Like, how did this happen? That must have been very, very confusing for the Muggle doctors. And how long did it take to get a wizard doctor there? And did the Dursleys tell them that a giant gave Dudley the tail? And did that wizard, what is it? Medi-Wizard? Yeah, Medi-Wizard, I think it is. What did they think? Did they report that what apparently Hagrid did? Who must have been, or what must have been done by Hagrid? Something. One of those words, those sentences, and all this. Harry woke at 5 o'clock the next morning. Oh, we get a time. And was too excited and nervous to go back to sleep. He got up and pulled on his jeans because he didn't want to walk into the station in his wizard's robes. That would have been quite bad. He'd change on the train. He checked his Hogwarts list again to make sure he had everything he needed. Saw that Hedwig was shut safely in her cage, and then paced the room like Dumbledore, waiting for the Dursleys to get up. 2 hours later, at 7 o'clock, Harry's huge, heavy trunk had been loaded into the Dursleys' car. Bet Vernon did not like doing that. Aunt Petunia had talked Dudley into sitting next to Harry. Where else is he gonna sit? You gonna put Petunia in the back seat? Nope. And they had set off. They reached King's Cross Station at 10:30. Another 2 hours later, 2.5. Uncle Vernon dumped Harry's trunk onto a cart and wheeled it into the station for him. Harry thought this was strangely kind. Yes, wholesome Vernon, helping Harry get to the platforms. Until Uncle Vernon stopped dead, facing the platforms with a nasty grin on his face. Well, there you are, boy. Platform 9, platform 10. Your platform should be somewhere in the middle, but they don't seem to have built it yet, do they? Why don't you try just running straight at it and smack into the wall? That'd be interesting. Now, is it just the one path, the one space between platforms that you can get through, or are there multiple? It could be helpful if there were multiple entrances and exits from ways to get on and off the station. He was quite right, of course. Vernon was right? That's shocking. There was a big plastic number 9 over one platform and a big plastic number 10 over the next one, over the one next to it. And in the middle, nothing at all. Of course not. Have a good time, said Uncle Vernon with an even nastier smile. He left without another word. Harry turned and saw the Dursleys drive away. All three of them were laughing. Free! They are free from Harry. Free for the first time, except for while they were out on the hut on the rock on the sea. Harry's mouth went rather dry. He got cotton mouth. What on earth was he going to do? He was starting to attract a lot of funny looks because of Hedwig. He'd have to ask someone. He stopped a passing guard, but didn't dare mention platform 9 3/4. Not like in the movie where he goes up to the guy and says, "Excuse me, can you tell me what a platform 9 3/4 is?" And the guard's like, "Platform 9 3/4. Think you're being funny, do you? Platform 9 3/4. As he walks away, muttering about time wasters and platform 9 3/4. But no, here in the books, he does not mention platform 9 3/4. The guard had never heard of Hogwarts. So he doesn't mention platform 9 3/4, but he does mention Hogwarts. And I also have to question, why do they not have a guard who does know, standing right there, to help students get onto the platform? They have somebody helping students get off of the platform, but nobody to help them get on. There should be a wizard guard working there. Really should. And when, of course, Harry couldn't tell him what part of the country Hogwarts was in, because he doesn't know, because Hogwarts is not on any map. You're not going to find it through a Alta Vista search. Or would they have even had Alta Vista at this point? Maybe? Alta Vista might have been usable. I don't remember. Let's see. So the guard started to get annoyed, as though Harry was being stupid on purpose. Getting desperate, Harry asked for the train that left at 11 o'clock, but the guard said there wasn't one. In the end, the guard strode away, muttering about platform 9 3/4. Harry was now trying hard not to panic. According to the large clock over the arrivals board, he had 10 minutes left to get on the train to Hogwarts. I want to try to get these words right. And he had no idea how to do it. He was stranded in the middle of a station with a trunk he could hardly lift, a pocket full of wizard money, and a large owl that is not native to this country. Hagrid must have forgotten to tell him something he had to do. Of course, in both the book and the movie, Hagrid is famous for not giving enough information and sometimes giving too much information. Oftentimes giving too much. This time, not enough. Like tapping the third brick on the left to get into Diagon Alley. It's gotta be. Just a push on the wall between platforms 9 and 10, Harry. You might just fall right through. You never tried that. You never thought to try that. He wondered if he should get out his wand and start tapping the ticket inspector's stand between platforms 9 and 10. No, just push on it. Stand at the wall and lean. You'll fall right through. At that moment, a group of people passed just behind him, and he caught a few words that they were saying. Packed with muggles, of course. Harry swung around. The speaker was a plump woman. talking to 4 boys, all with flaming red hair. Each of them was pushing a trunk like Harry's in front of them, and they had an owl. Armies! Heart hammering. Harry pushed his cart after them. They stopped, and so did he, just near enough to hear what they were saying. Now, what's the platform number? Said the boy's mother. And this point has gotten a lot of debate on the internet. Why did Molly ask what the platform number was? And people have given all kinds of different answers. And because Molly should know what the platform number is. She's gone there enough times. She went herself for 7 years. She put 4 boys through, so she's done another 7+ years, 7, 8, 9, 10 years additionally from when Charlie and Bill graduated or started when they've left. Now Ron there. Been quite a few years. So why does she ask? Because she's a mother. She's a mother with children. That is why she asked. It was not for her own sake. It was for their sake. She probably does that every year. It is for Ginny's sake to learn, to teach, the teaching moment, as they always are. Doesn't matter if they already know it, you still ask those questions as a parent. So, piping up a small girl, 9 3/4. It piped a small girl who was holding her head. Mom, can't I go? What, onto the platform? Yes, of course you can go onto the platform. Jenny, you're not old enough to get onto the platform. The platform apparently blocks anyone under 11 from getting on it. What? Yes. No, it doesn't. You just can't go to school yet. And obviously, Jenny, obviously. Oh, now be quiet, Jenny. All right, Percy, you go first. What looked like the oldest boy marched toward platforms 9 and 10. Harry watched, careful not to blink in case he missed it. But just as the boy reached the dividing barrier between the 2 platforms, a large crowd of tourists came swarming in front of him, and by the time the last backpack had cleared away, the boy had vanished. Oof. Fred, you next, the plump woman said. I'm not Fred, I'm George, said the boy. Honestly, woman, you call yourself our mother. Can't you tell I'm George? Sorry, George, dear. Only joking, I am Fred, because she can tell her boys apart. Said the boy, and off he went. His twin called after him to hurry up, and he must have done so because a second later. So now Fred's off, and George is calling to Fred to hurry up. George is saying, hurry up, Fred, get through. I'm guessing it's telling him to get through. I've been trying to understand this paragraph for a while. It doesn't entirely make sense. It makes it sound like there's another boy. Or at least as I had always previously interpreted it, read it. So, he must, let's go back. Only joking, I am Fred, said the boy, and off he went. His twin called after him to hurry up, and he must have done so because a second later, he had gone. But how had he done it? Now the third brother was walking briskly toward him. Toward the barrier. I always thought that it was the other way, that no, Fred was telling George to hurry up, but no, it's actually George telling Fred to hurry up to get through so that George can get through. So once Fred had gone through, now George
was walking briskly toward the barrier. He was almost there, and then quite suddenly, he wasn't anymore. There was nothing else for it. "Excuse me," Harry said to the plump woman. "Hello, dear," she said. "First time at Hogwarts. Ron's new, too." She pointed at the last and youngest of her sons. He was tall, thin, and gangling, with freckles. Big hands and feet, you know what they say about those with big hands and feet, and a long nose. Definitely not Voldemort's nose. "Yes," said Harry. The thing is, I don't know how to get on the platform," he said kindly. Harry nodded. I keep saying knotted instead of nodded. There's a lot of nodding going around here, but it's all nodding. So, if you actually watched my normal reading of this chapter on my website, linked down in the description, I definitely say not a lot instead of nodding. Okay, where was I? Not to worry, he said. All you have to do is walk straight at the barrier between platforms 9 and 10. Don't stop and don't be scared you'll crash into it. That's very important. Because if you're scared, you will crash into it. The barrier will be up, and you'll just smash and look terrible. Best to do it a bit of a run if you're nervous. Go on, go now, before Ron. Okay, said Harry. He pushed his trolley around and stared at the barrier. It looked very solid, because it is a wall. Probably a brick wall, I guess. He started to walk toward. People jostled him on their way to platforms 9 and 10. Oh, come on, I want to get through it. Oh, yeah. Made it further than I did the other 2 times, 2 attempts to read this. The 2 attempts combined. This time I started over, but don't. Why it's taken so long to get these done? Get through this. I need to take DVD gummies before doing this. Okay. Okay, let's try. I want to do this. I want to get through this. Got a lot of. I'm only 30% through this book. A lot to go through. If it takes this long to get through it, we'll never get through it. Oh gosh, I can't continue right now. Okay, we'll figure this out. I wonder how long it's going to be until I open up the book again. Okay, trying to continue. Okay, trying. It does take a lot of energy to do this. He started to walk toward it. People jostled him on their way to the platforms 9 and 10. Harry walked more quickly. He was going to smash right into that barrier, and then he'd be in trouble, because Mrs. Dursley is pranking Harry. It's all a joke. He's... The other boys have just stepped around it in a special way. They got people to cross in front at just the right time so they could dart around and hide. And Harry's now about to smash into a solid object. Right? Leaning forward on his cart, he broke into a heavy run. The barrier was coming nearer and nearer. No, the barrier was not coming nearer. He was getting nearer to the barrier. Relativity. The cart was out of control, or he wouldn't be able to stop. The cart was out of control. He has no control over it as he's running. He must be running very fast, and something. Momentum had now taken over the cart. He was a foot away. He closed his eyes, ready for the crash, nervous, panicking, scared he's going to crash into it. So what does he do? Boom! Crashes right into it. Nope. It didn't come. He kept on running and kept on running. Run, Harry, run! Straight into another person, or straight onto the platform, and then off the platform into the train, onto the tracks. Oops. He opened his eyes. Oh, a scarlet steam engine. Oops, there was this way. A scarlet steam engine was waiting next to a platform packed with people. Packed with people. A sign overhead. I'm backwards over here. Where are we? There. Behind the cage top. A sign overhead said Hogwarts Express. 11 o'clock. Harry looked behind him and saw a wrought iron gate. A wrought iron archway where the barrier had been. And the words Platform 9 3/4 on it. He had done it. He succeeded. Absolute success in achieving his second venture into the wizarding world. Smoke from the engine drifted overhead, over the heads of the chattering crowd, while cats of every color wound their way here and there between their legs. Cats are getting lost in stuff, seeing people that are not their masters, and might get left behind. Don't want your cat to get left behind. Owls hooted to one another in a disgruntled sort of way over the babble and the scraping of heavy trunks. So the owls were not happy about the noise and the number of people and all things going on. Too much, and probably too bright. Don't like the light. Because owls don't usually prefer the night, which is why Ilop's Owl Emporium is dimly lit. The first few carriages were already packed with students. The first few train cars, cars, a carriage, carriage. They were already packed with students, some hanging out of the window to talk to their families, some fighting over seats. Harry pushed his cart off down the platform in search of an empty seat. Because you can see where the empty seats are from the platform, the empty seats on the train. He passed a round-faced boy who was saying, "Gran, I've lost my toad again." Oh, Neville. Neville. Yay, the introduction of Neville. Neville's first words, "Gran, I've lost my toad again." How many times has he lost it? And why does he keep finding it? And how does he keep finding it? And why does Trevor keep letting himself be found? Strange toad. I wonder if this toad is not really a toad. Animagus. An unregistered animagus. Curiously long life for a toad. A boy with dreadlocks was surrounded by a small crowd. "Lee! Give us a look, Lee! Go on!" The boy lifted the lid of a box in his arms, and the people around him shrieked and yelled as something inside poked out a long, hairy leg. Harry pressed on through the crowd until he found an empty compartment near the end of the train. He found the caboose. He put Hedwig inside first, and then started to shove and heave his trunk toward the train door. He tried to lift it up the step, but could hardly raise one end, and twice he dropped it painfully on his foot. Ouch! That's not very careful if you're dropping it on your foot. You gotta learn how to lift things without dropping them on your foot, without raising them above your feet, so that you don't hurt yourself like that. That's something they should teach at Hogwarts. How to lift your trunk onto the train. On to hand, it was one of the red-haired twins he'd followed through the barrier. Yes, please, Harry panted. Irony that it just happened to be one of them. That of all the people, they happened to go down to the end, see him go down and walk down to the end of the train to help Harry. Oi, Fred, come here and help. With the twins' help, Harry's trunk was at last tucked away in a corner of the compartment. They should definitely have people to help those who are alone. There's just not enough help at Hogwarts for those who ask for it. Although Harry didn't really ask for it. He did deserve it, though, and the help did come. Thanks, said Harry, pushing his sweaty hair out of his eyes. What's that? Said one of the twins suddenly, pointing at Harry's lightning scar. Blimey, said the other twin. Are you? He is, said the first twin. Aren't you? He added to Harry. What? Said Harry. Harry Potter, chorused the twins. Oh, him. I mean, no, I am not. I'm definitely. He's a bit of a tosser, really. Nobody. No, yes, I am. The two boys gawked at him, and Harry felt himself turning red. Then, to his relief, a voice came floating in through the train's open door. Fred, George, are you in there? Coming, Mom. With a last look at Harry, the twins hopped off the train. Harry sat down next to the window, where, half hidden, he could watch the red-haired family on the platform and hear what they were saying. Their mother had just taken out her handkerchief. Ron, you've got something on your nose. The youngest boy tried to jerk out of the way, but she grabbed him and began rubbing on the end of his nose. Just grabbed him by the scruff of his neck, yanked him in and started scrub his nose. Ah. Mom, get off! He wriggled free. Has Ickle Ronnie got some fink on his nosy? Some fink? Ickle must be British. Ickle Ronnie got some fink. Okay, said one of the twins. Shut up, said Ron. Where's Percy? Where's Percy? Said their mother. He's coming now. The oldest boy came striding into sight. Swaggeringly? Yes, with swagger like Spider-Man 3. He had already changed into his billowing black Hogwarts robes, and Harry noticed a shiny red and gold badge on his chest with the letter P on it. Red and gold for Gryffindor. Can't stay long, mother, he said. I'm up front, and you guys are way in the back. And it's not exactly a short train. I'm up front. The prefects have got 2 compartments to themselves. because the Slytherins didn't want to sit with the others. "Oh, are you a prefect, Percy?" said one of the twins, with an air of great surprise. "You should have said something. We had no idea." "Hang on, I think I remember him saying something about it," said the other twin. "Once or twice. A minute, all summer." "Oh, shut up," said Percy the prefect. "How come Percy gets new robes anyway?" said one of the twins. "Because he's a prefect," said their mother fondly. "All right, dear. Well, have a good time. Send me an owl when you get there." She kissed Percy on the cheek, and he left. When she turned to the twins, then she turned to the twins, and her face fell and changed into a much more angry, stern, pursed lips. "Now, you two, this year, you behave yourselves. If I get one more owl telling me you've blown up a toilet." Because she sounds much more witch-like right now when she's talking to the twins like this. "Blown up a toilet? We've never blown up a toilet. Great idea, though. Thanks, Mom." "Ah, yes. Light bulb." "It's not funny. And look after Ron." "Don't worry. Uncle Ronnykins is safe with us." "Shut up," said Ron again. Oh. He was almost as tall as the twins already, and his nose, almost as tall as the twins already, despite being 2 years younger than the twins. And his nose was still pink where his mother had rubbed it. At least he still has a nose. And it's a long nose, apparently. "Hey, Mom, guess what? Guess who we just met on the train?" Harry leaned back quickly so they couldn't see him looking. "Stuffy. You know that black-haired boy who was near us in the station? Because you totally were paying attention to him when he was behind you as you were getting onto the train and trying to prank your mother. You know who he is?" "Who?" "Harry Potter." Harry heard the little girl's voice. "Oh, Mom, can I go on the train and see him? Mom, oh please, oh please. He's my future husband. I must see him. I must go see him. Please, Mommy, please. I want to see my husband." "You've already seen him, Jenny, and you'll see him again for the rest of your life. And the poor boy isn't something you goggle at in the zoo. I'm sure Jenny will be goggling at Harry as if he were in a zoo for many years to come. Certainly not anytime soon, though. Yes, not anytime soon. Is he really, Fred? How do you know?" "Asked him. Saw his scar. It's really there, like lightning." "And why would they make that up? Why would they say it's Harry if it's not Harry?" Poor dear. No wonder he was all alone. I wondered. Poor dear? No, Harry's not poor, Mrs. Weasley. Harry's not poor. He was ever so polite when he asked how to get onto the platform. Because Harry learned manners. He knows how to treat adults and to respect his elders. Never mind that. Do you think he remembers what you-know-who looks like? Their mother suddenly became even more stern than she was before. When she was threatening them about the toilet, about blowing up toilets. "I forbid you to ask him, Fred. No, don't you dare!" As though he needs reminding that of it on his first day at school. Which he's being reminded of right now. Anyways. and he was reminded of a month ago. For the first time.
All right, keep your hair on. Is Mrs. Weasley wearing a wig?
Actually, yes. The actress was wearing a wig. So yes, the keep your hair on was a valid statement to make. A whistle sounded. Probably the train's whistle, a conductor's whistle, somebody whistling. Hurry up, the mother said, and the three boys clambered onto the train. They leaned out of the window for her to kiss them goodbye, and their younger sister began to cry. More rhymes. Don't, Jenny. We'll send you loads of owls. We'll send you a Hogwarts toilet seat. George, only joking, Mom, but not really, Jenny. The train began to move. Harry saw the boy's mother waving and their sister, half laughing, half crying, running to keep up with the train until it gathered too much speed. Then she fell back and waved. Harry watched the girl, and her mother disappear as the train rounded the corner. He was looking back to see if she was looking back to see if he was looking back at her. The train rounded the corner. Houses flashed past the window, and I have a seizure because things are flashing. No, not really. Harry felt a great leap of excitement. He didn't know what he was going to, but it had to be better than what he was leaving behind. I don't know, actually. I mean, in some ways, definitely a lot better. And he'll be with youngsters his own age. But, it's a bit safer where he was locked up in his cupboard. His cupboard was safe. There's safety in small spaces in that cupboard, with the door locked. There's not much life, but there is safety. The door slid open. The door of the compartment slid open, and the youngest red-headed boy came in. Anyone sitting there? He asked, pointing at the seat opposite Harry, where nobody was. So, unless you're expecting there to be ghosts there already, or a thestral. Is there a thestral sitting in there in the train next to Harry? Everywhere else is full. Harry shook his head, saying, "Yep, I don't know. Nobody's sitting there." And the boy sat down. He glanced at Harry and then looked quickly out of the window, pretending he hadn't looked. Harry saw that he still had a black mark on his nose. It was pink, but now it is black. "Hey, Ron," the twins were back. "Listen, we're going down the middle of the train. Lee Jordan's got a giant tarantula down there." "Right," mumbled Ron. "Harry," said the other twin, "did we introduce ourselves? Fred and George Weasley. And this is Ron, our brother. See you later, then." "Bye," said Harry and Ron. "Bye," said Harry and Ron. The twins slid the compartment door shut behind them. "Are you really, Potter?" Ron blurted out. Harry nodded. "Oh, well, I thought it might be one of Fred and George's jokes. Like, why? Why would that be a joke? It'd be an odd joke to make. And have you really got, the thing that you can't mention?" He pointed at Harry's forehead. "Oh, gosh darn it. Yet another cut in this long process." Okay. Okay, we're back the next day. I ended up having seizures yesterday and wasn't able to continue. So we're trying again today, and I just recorded a couple minutes with no sound, with my microphone off. So I'm going to start over again at where we left off, which is around about the point of Ron and Harry on the train. Ron thought it might be one of Fred and George's jokes, and Ron said, "Have you really got, pointing?" He pointed at Harry's forehead because, it's rude to point. And Harry pulled back his bangs to show his lightning scar with pride. Because the one thing about himself he really likes, is his lightning scar, because scars are cool. Ron stared. "So that's where you know who..." "Yes," said Harry, "but I can't remember it, because I was only 15 months old." "Nothing?" said Ron eagerly. "Well, I remember a lot of green light, but nothing else." Even that's impressive to remember at 15 months old. "Wow," said Ron, impressed that Harry remembered anything from when he was 15 months old. He sat and stared at Harry for a few moments, then, as though he had suddenly realized what he was doing, he looked quickly out of the window again, watched the countryside whizzing by from outside the train. "Are all your family wizards?" asked Harry, who found Ron just as interesting as Ron found him. Yes, I think so," said Ron. "I think Mum's got a second cousin who's an accountant, but we never talk about him, because he's just a second cousin. Of course, in the wizarding world, your second cousins are like your best friends, or your siblings. You're as close to your third cousins and fifth cousins as you are anybody else, because everybody else is within your third cousins or fifth cousins or something like that. So much interbreeding among wizards." Back to Harry. "So you must know loads of magic already." "Probably, actually. He's definitely seen a lot of magic happening. The Weasleys were clearly one of those old wizarding families the Pale Boy in Diagon Alley had talked about, but definitely not one that the Pale Boy in Diagon Alley would appreciate." "I heard you went to live with Muggles," said Ron. "What are they like?" "Horrible. Well, not all of them. My aunt and uncle and cousin are, though. Wish I had 3 wizard brothers." 5, said Ron. For some reason, he was looking gloomy. "Yes, Ron does not like being the 6th. I'm the 6th in our family to go to Hogwarts. You could say I've got a lot to live up to. Bill and Charlie have already left. Good old Bill and Charlie. Charlie, who we never get to see in the movies at all, unfortunately. Right? Yeah. We don't get Charlie at all in the movies, because it's Charlie who comes to pick up Norbert or Norberta. And that's when we get Charlie in the books, but we don't get Charlie in the movies. Most unfortunate. See, Bill was head boy, good for Bill, and Charlie was captain of the Quidditch. Now Perfy's a prefect. I wonder, was Bill also a prefect before he became head boy? Don't know. Fred and George mess around a lot. They blow up toilet seats. But they still get really good marks, and everyone thinks they're really funny. Class clowns and intelligent. And hard-working. Somehow, the Weasley twins are also hard-working and study hard. Do their homework. While they're doing everything else, like blowing things up. Let's see. Everyone expects me to do as well. To do it. Everyone expects me to do as well as the others, but if I do, it's no big deal because they did it first. You never get anything new either, with 5 brothers. I've got Bill's old robes, Charlie's old wand. Unfortunately, how did Charlie get a new wand and had to pass his wand down to Ron? That's horrible. And Percy's old rat. Kill it! Kill it now! Actually, no, not quite yet. The rat has something it needs to do first. Then it can be killed. But don't worry, that moment comes that it does what it needs to do before it should be killed. But darn that old rat. Oh, that dirty rat. Oh, the dirty rat. Ron reached inside his jacket and pulled out a fat, gray rat, which was asleep. Because that's all this rat ever does, is sleep, because he's bored. I mean, you'd be too if you had to hang around with 5 wizard boys. And Ginny probably didn't want to be around Scabbers. I don't blame her. Scabbers better have stayed away from Ginny's room. That's all I gotta say about that. Stay away from Ginny, Scabbers. His name's Scabbers. He's useless. He hardly ever wakes up. Percy got an owl from my dad for being made a prefect, but they couldn't I got Scabbers instead. Ron's ears went pink as his nose. He seemed to think he'd said too much, because he went back to staring out of the window. Harry didn't think there was anything wrong with not being able to afford an owl. After all, he'd never had any money in his life until a month ago, and he told Ron so. All about having to wear Dudley's old clothes that fit him like a pair of bits of old elephant skin. And never getting proper birthday presents, getting coat hangers and socks. This seemed to cheer Ron up, because misery loves company. And until Hagrid told me, I didn't know anything about being a wizard, or about my parents, or Voldemort. Ron gasped. Yes? What? Said Harry. You said you know whose name, said Ron, sounding both shocked and impressed. I'd have thought you of all people. I'm not trying to be brave or anything, saying the name, said Harry. I just never knew you shouldn't. Yes, you kinda did. Because anyone who has ever talked about him around you, Hagrid, has refused to say the name. Hagrid doesn't like to say the name, and he didn't even want to write it down. Probably because, as he said, he can't spell it. But he just needs to write down Tom, Marvolo, Riddle, and then mix up all the letters. And you'll get, I am Lord Voldemort. Oh, okay. That's a stretch, JK. But, that's the end of book 2. We're still in the beginning of book 1. We haven't even gotten to Hogwarts. Boy, so far to go. And so many seizures making it take forever. Oh, but, see what I mean? I've got loads to learn, I bet. He added, voicing for the first time something that had been worrying him a lot lately. I bet I'm the worst in the class. You won't be. There's loads of people who come from Muggle families, and they learn quick enough. Harry does come from a Muggle family, essentially. For all intents and purposes, the Dursleys, who he grew up with, are Muggles. I mean, obviously they are Muggles, so for all intents and purposes, Harry grew up as a Muggle, with Muggles. Doing strange and odd things, like growing his hair, and shrinking clothes and flying to the tops of roofs, to chimney tops. Is when you send it flying up there. All at once you're lighter than air. While they had been talking, the train had carried them out of London. Now they were speeding past fields full of cows and sheep. Dyslexia. They were quiet for a time, watching the fields and lanes flick past. Around 12:30, so it's an hour and a half on the train, there was a great chattering outside in the corridor, and a smiling, dimpled woman slid back their door and said, "Anything off the cart, dears?" The cart? The trolley? Anything off the trolley, dears? Anything off the trolley, as she walks away, not giving them a chance to answer. In the movies. Harry, who hadn't had any breakfast, yeah, I guess that makes sense. I wonder when the Dursleys ate that morning. Harry, who hadn't had any breakfast, leapt to his feet, but Ron's ears went pink again, and he muttered that he'd brought sandwiches. Oh yeah, I guess it was a different movie where he is asked for a packet of Droobles and some other things. Yeah, that's Cho Chang's in that scene. So Ron's got these crappy sandwiches, but Harry went out into the corridor. He had never had any money for candy with the Dursleys, and now that he had pockets rattling with gold and silver, he was ready to buy as many Mars bars as he could carry. But the woman didn't have Mars bars. What she did have were Bertie Bott's every flavor beans, Drooble's best blowing gum, chocolate frogs, pumpkin pasties, which Cho asks for later, cauldron cakes, licorice wands, and a number of other strange things that Harry had never seen in his life. Why didn't you go to the candy shop in Diagon Alley? You couldn't have taken him to the candy shop, Hagrid? What's wrong with you? You got him ice cream at least. That's good enough, I guess. But did Harry eat anything? Let's see. Yeah, he got a burger later in the day, but don't think much else. Not wanting to miss anything, he got some of everything and paid the woman 11 silver sickles and 7 bronze nuts. There's another thing to remember for the quiz later. Ron stared as Harry brought it all back into the compartment and tipped it into an empty seat. How much did Harry take from other students? Did any other student end up not being able to get any food, any candy, because Harry took it all? For a rich boy taking all the food for himself. Hungry, are you? Starving, said Harry, taking a large bite out of a pumpkin pasty. That's probably the best thing for a breakfast out of that grouping. Gosh, I would love to have a pumpkin pasty right now. Ooh. Ron had taken out a large, lumpy package and unwrapped it. There were 4 sandwiches inside. He pulled one of them apart and said, "She always forgets I don't like corned beef." Who does? I hate corned beef and cabbage. Nasty, ruined meat. Swap you for one of these, said Harry, holding up a pasty. Go on. Swap? Swap? You don't want this. It's all dry. Dry corned beef? Ugh. Oh, okay, my stomach. I need to eat something myself. All this talk of food, and I haven't had breakfast either. So I'm going to pause again and hopefully come back after eating something. Hopefully come back today. Oh, well, it's a couple days later, unfortunately. Seizures have been a nightmare, and I'm just trying to get through this. I want to get through this. I want to be able to do this and get this done. But sometimes it's just not possible. So, but we're gonna try to continue. I got some whiskey, so we're going to drink while we commentate, while we continue this. Let's see. It's probably Ron's not liking corned beef. So Harry with all the candy. Swap you for one of these, said Harry, holding up a pasty. Go on. You don't want this. It's all dry. Dry corned beef, said Ron. She hasn't got much time. He added quickly, with 5 of us, because the 5 brothers, or 6, 5 that are still in the house. Yeah, 5 that are still in the house. Go on, have a pasty, said Harry, who had never had anything to share before, or indeed anyone to share it with. So it's not just swapping, he's going to give, because that sounds like a much better idea, to give than to swap for the corned beef. It was a nice feeling sitting there with Ron, eating their way through all Harry's pasties, cakes, and candies. The sandwiches lay forgotten. What are these? Harry asked Ron, holding up a pack of chocolate frogs. They're not really frogs, are they? What, you never had frog legs? The Dursleys never gave you frog legs? Chocolate-covered frog legs? I haven't had them either. I have had escargot, and actually I really liked escargot. At least the way it was prepared. They're not really frogs, are they? He was starting to feel that nothing would surprise him. Because of course they are. They are real frogs. Covered in chocolate, still alive. No, said Ron. But see what the card is. I'm missing Agrippa. Agrippa? What? What is Agrippa? Oh, of course. You wouldn't know. Chocolate frogs have cards inside them, to collect. Famous witches and wizards. It's like the opposite of baseball cards and bubblegum. I've got about 500. 500! So the Weasleys bought Ron, through the years, 500 chocolate frogs? That's a lot. I mean, still, that's not cheap for to have that many through the years, to have collected that much. But I haven't got Agrippa or Ptolemy. Good old Ptolemy. Ptolemy is a great wizard. That's a good history right there. Harry unwrapped his chocolate frog and picked up the card. It showed a man's face. After getting the melted chocolate off of the frog, right? Or off of the card. Showed a man's face. He wore half-moon glasses, had a long, crooked nose, and flowing silver hair, beard, and mustache. Underneath the picture was the name Albus Dumbledore. Irony. What are the chances of Harry's first card being Dumbledore? The very first one he gets is Dumbledore. That's some odd circumstances there. Some unusual, not likely. So this is Dumbledore, said Harry. Ah, don't tell me you never heard of Dumbledore, said Ron. Can I have a frog? I might get Agrippa. Thanks. Yes, Ron, he has heard of Dumbledore. That's why he said, so this is Dumbledore. So he obviously recognizes that Dumbledore exists. Harry didn't just be like, who the heck is this? Who's this random wizard that I have? This is a strange long nose that looks like it's been broken at least twice. That wasn't on this part, because you can't tell that from the little tiny pictures that are on those chocolate frog cards. Oh, let's see. Harry turned over his card and read, Albus Dumbledore. Currently, at the time of publication of these cards, headmaster of Hogwarts. Considered by many the greatest wizard of modern times, Dumbledore is particularly famous for his defeat of the dark wizard Grindelwald in 1945. Oh man, we got a while until we get to 1945 in Fantastic Beasts. 'Cause I think they're in like 37 was Secrets of Dumbledore was 37 or 33, 34. I don't know. I don't remember. Secrets of Dumbledore was, well, check the links down below to watch my reaction video to Secrets of Dumbledore. It is a cam recording, so it's absolute terrible. Streamed, well, you'll see if you go there. I don't need to get into that distraction at the moment. Dumbledore, famous for defeating Grindelwald in 45, a battle which may not have actually taken place. Grindelwald may have just waved a white flag and surrendered. For the discovery of the 12 uses of dragon's blood, whom somebody else had discovered several of prior. And his work on alchemy, with his alchemy. Dumbledore's doing alchemy. I want to know more about Dumbledore's alchemy. With his partner, Nicholas Flamel. Of course, because you've read these before, you know who Nicholas Flamel is. You know the indication right here, the Easter egg spoiler. Yes, the spoiler, the hint of what is to come. Professor Dumbledore enjoys chamber music. Chamber music. Excellent. Chamber music can be quite, seizure-inducing. And 10-pin bowling. 10-pin bowling. That would be awesome to watch Dumbledore bowling. Dumbledore and McGonagall and Flitwick. Oh, that's maybe a horrible thing to say. I apologize to any whatever the PC term is, the chosen term, whatever's the respectable term for the shorter people. Because I had a new one in high school who played on the high school football team, Bob Bosselman. He's a cool guy. I don't know what's happened to him, what he's done. Hope he's done something with his life. Bob Bosselman. Let's see. 10-pin bowling. That's where, from 10-pin bowling to high school and junior high and elementary school people that I knew in Wisconsin. Let's see. Harry turned the card back over and saw, to his astonishment, that Dumbledore's face had disappeared. He's gone! Well, you can't expect him to hang around all day. He'll be back.
of course, this picture of Dumbledore can go to any other picture of Dumbledore that exists anywhere in the world. So, of course, this chocolate frog card Dumbledore went to see the headmaster. Because, wait, couldn't he? Is there a portrait of Dumbledore before Dumbledore dies in the headmaster's study? I don't think there would be. There shouldn't be, because it's supposed to be, unless through these 6 years and previous, Dumbledore is talking to himself occasionally. He talks to his own portrait. Or is there a portrait of Dumbledore somewhere else that, oh, well, I'm sure Dumbledore has his own chocolate frog card, a card of his own on him, just for this purpose. That must be it. Dumbledore has one of his own frog cards and talks to that and checks in on all the students that collect frog cards. No, I've got Morgana again, and I've got about 6 of her. Do you want it? You can start collecting. Morgana. Morgana is another great witch from, I believe, one of the direct students of Merlin, if I remember correctly. And Morgana was in Nicolas Cage's Sorcerer's Apprentice. That was a great live-action adaptation for Sorcerer's Apprentice. It was done really well, I think. I liked that. Ron's eyes strayed to the pile of chocolate frogs waiting to be unwrapped. How many are in this pile? Help yourself, said Harry. But in the Muggle world, people just stay in photos. Stay put in photos. Yep. Do they? What? They don't move at all? Weird. Ron sounded amazed. Amazed that the Muggles don't have magical pictures. We don't have moving pictures. Oh wait, you got a moving picture right now. You're watching me on a moving picture. It's not interactive, unfortunately, but it is a moving picture. And it will always be the same choreography through this moving picture. Sorry, not much I can do about that. Harry stared as Dumbledore sidled back into the picture on his card and gave him a small smile. Dumbledore smiles. Oh, excuse me. Richard Harris's smile. I actually just discovered some of Richard Harris's music that I actually knew. I don't remember now what it was, what the song was that was presented, but I did not know Richard Harris was a musician, had been a big time musician. I never did any research on Richard Harris. I definitely should do that. Do some more so on all of these actors. To Richard Harris, the greatest Dumbledore, who definitely could not have played the scenes in 5 and 6. No. There is no way Richard Harris would have been able to if he had lived. Oh, could you imagine? But let's get back to reading, because these are already long videos. Ron was more interested in eating the frogs, having chocolate. Chocolate? Oh, wait, chocolate. That comes up in third book. Interesting. Did Remus give Harry a chocolate frog? Just a chocolate bar? I don't remember. We'll see when we get there. Assuming we get there, ever. Sometime this century. Let's see. Ron was more interested in eating them than the witches and wizards, but Harry couldn't keep his eye off of them. Soon he had not only Dumbledore and Morgana, that's 2, but Hengist, 3, Hengist of Woodcraft, 3, Albrecht Grunion, 4, Cersei, 5, Paracelsus, 6, and Merlin, 7. He finally tore his eyes away from the druidess Cleodona, 8, who was scratching her nose to open a bag of Bertie Bott's every flavor beans. Haha, Cleodona. Gorgeous druidess Cleodona, and Harry at 11 years old is getting curious about this druidess. You want to be careful with those, Ron warned, with druidesses. No, with Bertie Bott's every flavor beans. Or both. When they say every flavor, they mean every flavor. You know, you get all the ordinary ones like chocolate and peppermint and marmalade. Marmalade? Yeah. But then you can get spinach and coconut and liver and tripe. I'm allergic to coconut. Don't give me the coconut. George reckons he had a booger flavored one. Booger, not bogey. Here in the American version, we get booger. No, the British, the real version of the story, bogey flavored, much better. Ron picked up a green bean, looked at it carefully, bit into a corner of the bean. Blarg! See? Sprouts. What kind of sprouts? Not necessarily Brussels sprouts, but a different kind of sprout. Could be cilantro sprouts. Could be parsley sprouts. I don't know. Or is there a specific veggie called sprouts that is not Brussels sprouts? I don't eat much of that. Lettuce and baby spinach. They had a good time eating the every flavor beans. Harry got toast and, unfortunately, coconut and baked bean. A baked bean. Strawberry, curry, grass, coffee, sardine, and was even brave enough to nibble the end of a funny gray one Ron wouldn't touch, which turned out to be pepper. I bet I would. I want to try the pepper bean. I really do. I enjoy a good pepper. I want a jalapeno bean, or a habanero bean, a ghost pepper bean. Give me that. Ooh. The countryside now was flying past the window and becoming wilder. The countryside was flying past. Relativity. Does the countryside pass by this train? Becoming wilder and wilder, like Hagrid's mane. The neat fields had gone. Now there were woods, twisting rivers, and dark green hills. Over the river and through the woods and over the river, across the green hills we go. Yes, there was a knock on the door of their compartment. Dun dun dun. Oh, and the round-faced boy Harry had passed on platform 9 3/4 came in. He looked tearful. Oh, Neville. Neville. Our second introduction of Neville. Sorry, he said, but have you seen a toad at all? A toad? We've been eating chocolate frogs, not chocolate toads. When they shook their heads, he wailed. I've lost him. He keeps getting away from me. It's a toad. Yeah, why isn't he not in a proper cage, proper terrarium thing? Like, you're not taking very good care of your toad, Neville. No wonder he keeps getting away from you. You're lucky he keeps coming back to you. Oh, and of course, in the book, the chocolate frogs, they don't bounce. They don't have one good bounce in them. There's no chocolate frog jumping out of the window. There's no. Oops. Although I think I would say that's an improvement that the movie made. To have the frogs actually able to jump is quite interesting. It's a little extra magic that's maybe a bit ridiculous. Yeah. Maybe a little cheesy, just for the laughs. He'll turn up, said Harry to Neville. Yes, said the boy miserably, because he doesn't really want his toad to turn up. Well, if you see him. He laughed. Oh, Neville. Don't know why he's so bothered, said Ron. If I'd brought a toad, I'd lose it as quickly as I could. Mind you, I brought Scabbers, so I can't talk. Yeah, Ron. Scabbers is worse than it. Well, yes, Scabbers is worse than Trevor. We don't really know much about Trevor. Trevor is just kind of aloof. Scabbers, on the other hand, is evil. He's an evil bastard that needs to be squashed and eaten by a cat, maybe. Or Scabbers can just choke himself out. Okay. The rat was still snoozing on Ron's lap. He might have died and you wouldn't know the difference. He should die, and we would be glad to not know the difference. Just chuck him out the window. Chuck him out. Throw Scabbers from the train. A kick. I tried to turn him Ron. I tried to turn him yellow yesterday to make him more interesting. Yellow. That's an interesting choice that they go with yellow. Because he is a coward. Yellow is the color of cowards, at least by Popeye. Robin Williams is Popeye. And at the end, when Bluto turns yellow, literally. Oh, I love it. I love Robin Williams as Popeye so much. So much. With, dang it, now I forgot who played his pappy, and it's somebody important. Oh, it's Boothby. And it's Star Trek's Boothby that plays Popeye's pappy. Ooh, my battery's getting low. Okay, try to get through this before the battery on my camera dies. I turned him yellow, tried to turn him yellow to make him more interesting, but the spell didn't work. Of course not. I'll show you. He rummaged around in his trunk and pulled out a very battered-looking wand. It was chipped in places, and something white was glinting at the end. Why does Ron have a battered and beaten wand? A wounded wand? Why does Ron have a wounded wand? Unicorn's hair is nearly poking out. Anyway, he had just raised his wand when the compartment door slid open again. The toadless boy was back, but this time he had a girl with him. Ooh, Neville getting a girl. I believe, yes, Neville did ask out Hermione before he asked out Jenny. Go Neville. She was already wearing her Hogwarts robes. Has anyone seen a toad? Neville's lost one. And here we finally get Neville's name. Well, for the second time, because Gran calls him Neville. She had a bossy sort of voice, lots of bushy brown hair, and rather large front teeth. Larger than mine. And mine are pretty frickin' big. We've already told him we haven't seen it, and it hasn't come by in the few minutes since. Because we weren't really looking for it. We don't really care about a silly toad. We're dealing with a stupid rat. But the girl wasn't listening. Of course she wasn't listening to Ron. She was looking at the wand in his hand. Of course Hermione was looking at Ron's wand. Oh, are you doing magic? Let's see it then. Oh. She sat down. She just welcomed herself into the compartment and sat down. So Hermione is not a vampire then, because she did not wait for permission. She sat down and Ron looked taken aback. My boy, why did you sit down? You did not have permission to come into our compartment and sit down, Hermione. All right. Because he's not really, he knows this spell didn't work. It didn't work yet before, yesterday or something. So he knows it's probably not going to work now. And in fact, he's demonstrating to Harry that the spell doesn't work. So tell Hermione that you're going to do a spell that you know doesn't work. Sunshine Daisies Buttermellow. Turn this stupid fat rat yellow. Why would a spell include stupid and fat? That makes no sense, not even for a Miss Cackle's spell from Worst Witch. Where their spells are at least poetic, and you can kind of ad-lib your spells. It might work, maybe. I mean, Mildred did turn, I don't remember now. I don't remember what the name of the chick in Worst Witch was, the Draco chick. Because yes, J.K. Rowling stole a lot from Jill something or other's Worst Witch. So much was taken from that. But we'll get back to this. He waved his wand and nothing happened. That's all Ron ever does, is just wave his wand and smack it around. And Scabbers stayed gray and fast asleep. Because he's not a rat, for one. He might be stupid and fat, but he is not a literal rat. People biking past. Are you sure that's a real spell? Said the girl. No, it's not. And he's sure that it is not a real spell. He knows it's not a real spell because, wait. Did I have to go back and look at this. Let's see. Yeah, here it does say that Fred and George gave him the spell. Nope. He just tried to do a spell on his own. Oh, wait. This way. There's multiple clocks. Yeah, I don't know. That's what I just noticed. Again, image from Google search. I don't know if there's a thing, a signature. Are you sure that's a real spell? Said the girl. No, we're sure it's not. Well, it's not very good, is it? No, because it's not a real spell. I've tried a few simple spells just for practice, and it's all worked for me. Because they were actual spells and wait. There's no, for example, there's no indication of Harry's glasses being cracked at all here. There's no Oculus Reparo. Or Oculus Reparis. No, Oculus Reparo. Yeah, I believe that's what it is. Nobody in my family is magic at all. Muggle! It was ever such a surprise when I got my letter. You just got the letter with no McGonagall coming to tell you about it. Let's see. But I was ever so pleased, of course. I mean, it's the very best school of witchcraft there is, I've heard. Did you hear about this stuff before you found out about being a witch? Before you got your letter? No, you didn't. But then why were you ever so pleased? Simply, you weren't pleased that... It can't be because you got into Hogwarts. It's simply you were pleased because you're a witch. And her parents must have been ecstatic. What was the line? We have a witch in the family.
I was the only one to see her for what she really was, a freak.
Oh, Petunia. Oh, Toonie. Jealous Toonie. Let's see. I've learned all our course books by heart, of course. She's already learned the books by heart. You're crazy, Hermione. Absolutely crazy. Just hope it's enough. Hope it will be enough. Crazy. I'm Hermione Granger, by the way. Who are you? She said all this very fast, unlike me. So, do we want to? Are you sure that's a real spell? Said the girl. Well, it's not very good, is it? I've tried a few simple spells just for practice, and it's all worked for me. Nobody in my family is magic at all. It was ever such a surprise when I got my letter. But I was ever so pleased, of course. I mean, it's the very best school of witchcraft there is. I've heard. I've learned all our course books by heart, of course, and I hope it's just enough. I'm Hermione Granger, by the way. Who are you? That's probably how she did it, and maybe even faster. Harry looked at Ron and was relieved to see by his stunned face that he hadn't learned all the course books by heart either. I'm not surprised that Ron hasn't. I don't expect Ron to have done so. But Harry picked up his books and looked at them and studied them a little bit. Why doesn't Harry know his books a little better? Oh man, I am sweating and my nose is causing my glasses to slip. Ooh. Man, it is hot. Hot. That's another thing that's not in the books. That weather report. I'm Ron Weasley, Ron muttered. Harry Potter, said Harry. Are you really? because he would totally lie about that. Yes, Hermione, he's going to lie about being Harry Potter. I know all about you, of course. Creeper! A little stalkerish. I got a few extra books for background reading, and you're in modern magical history and the rise and fall of the dark arts, and great wizarding events of the 20th century. Those sound like really good books, JK. Like, can we get a couple of these in addition to Beetle the Bard's stuff? Oh, excuse me. Oh, am I? Said Harry, feeling dazed. You're surprised that after the response in the Leaky Cauldron, you're surprised that you're in books? Surprised there wasn't more of a reaction throughout Diagon Alley. Like, seriously, there should have been a lot more people through Diagon Alley freaking out, saying, shocked, seeing Hagrid, and then looking down, and then realizing Hagrid is with Harry Potter, and the lightning scar. Goodness, didn't you know? I'd have found out everything I could if it was me. Well, Harry didn't really have a chance to, and he could maybe have spent some more time in Diagon Alley. I wonder how many days Hermione spent in Diagon Alley in Flourish and Blots, picking up books and deciding what books to get. Whew. I mean, you could have an entire extra. If Harry Potter had been turned into a TV show instead of movies, you could have an entire extra episode for just Hermione looking through Flourish and Blots for what books she's going to take. That could be actually kind of exciting. Do either of you know what house you'll be in? I've been asking around, and I hope I'm in Gryffindor. You've been asking around, and how many of these students that you've asked are hoping for Gryffindor? Who did you talk to? And who did you not talk to? No Hannah Abbott for you. No, what were the others? I mean, or the other female Hufflepuffs. And who was put into Ravenclaw? I can't remember who was put into Ravenclaw right now. Well, one special Ravenclaw that I'll get to. Next chapter. Oh, let's see. I hope I'm in Gryffindor. It sounds by far the best. I hear Dumbledore himself was in it, but I suppose Ravenclaw wouldn't be too bad. What do you have against Hufflepuff? What you got against Hufflepuff? Hufflepuff is a great house. Hufflepuffs are loyal friends. Always. They are the best of friends. If you need a friend, go to a Hufflepuff. To all the Hufflepuffs out there. You are great. I'm a Gryffindor myself, but by choice. I chose Gryffindor over Hufflepuff. I'm a Gryffindor in truth. Anyway, we'd better go and look for Neville's toad, because there is a lot of train to search, and it's entirely not possible for Neville or for the toad to have left the train. And we still don't have the toad's name. Yes. No name for the toad yet. We shall see if we get a name for the toad, or if Trevor is made up specifically for the movies. You two had better change, you know. I expect we'll be there soon. Change your clothes. And she left, taking the toadless boy with her. Whatever house I'm in, I hope she's not in it, said Ron. Oh, Ron. Ron. You don't want Hermione in your house? She will always be in your house. Forever. You will have a house with her. You will buy a house with her. Maybe you build a house with her. That would make more sense for a Weasley, to build their family home. He threw his broken wand, his wounded wand, back into his trunk. Stupid spell. George gave it to me. Bet he knew it was a dud. And you should have known it was a dud when you tried to do it the other day. What house are your brothers in? Asked Harry. Gryffindor, said Ron. Gloom seemed to be setting on him again. Because if Hermione wants to be in Gryffindor and all his brothers have been in Gryffindor, he's likely going to be in Gryffindor and with Hermione. Mom and Dad were in it too. I don't know what they'll say if I'm not. I don't suppose Ravenclaw would be too bad. If Ron and Hermione had been sorted into Ravenclaw instead of Gryffindor. Harry and Neville would have been the dynamic duo with the Parkinson, with Pansy Park. No. Sorry, forgive me. No, that's she's Slytherin. Patil. One of the Patils is in Gryffindor. The other is in Ravenclaw. Unlike the movies, where they both get put into Gryffindor, or at least the Ravenclaw sister, the Ravenclaw twin, spends a lot of time in Gryffindor Tower, which apparently is possible. But imagine if they put me in Slytherin. What? Ron is worried about going into Slytherin? Well, then Slytherin House would get a... What? Oh, darn, I don't remember the line. But that's in the epilogue, way at the back. That's the house you know who was in. Yeah, said Ron. He flopped back into his seat, looking depressed. Why is he looking depressed? Not like he actually expects to be put into Slytherin. Well, if Ron is trying to outdo his brothers or to be just as good as, become just as famous as, maybe, I don't know, maybe. You know, I think the end of Scabbers' whiskers are a bit lighter. Yeah, said Harry, trying to take Ron's mind off of houses. So what do your oldest brothers do now that they've left anyway? Harry wondered what a wizard did once he finished school. Charlie's in Romania studying dragons. Ooh. And Bill's in Africa doing something for Gringotts, said Ron. Did you hear about Gringotts? It's been all over the Daily Prophet, but I suppose... My nose. Wait, it's been all over the Daily Prophet. You haven't gotten to school yet. It's been all over, but I suppose you don't get that with the Muggles. Someone tried to rob a high-security vault. Well, in the movies, they don't get the news until a couple days after they're at Hogwarts. So a month. We got to remember, Harry goes to Diagon Alley July 31st, and they don't start school until September 1st. So it took a month for the Daily Prophet by the movies to report on the break-in. It took 5 weeks, 5 full weeks to report on it. Wow. Harry stared. Really? What happened to them? Because anybody other than a Gringotts goblin who tried to do that would be sucked right in and be stuck in there, and they only check every 10 years. Once every 10 years. Ah, my nose. Nothing. So what happened to them? Nothing. That's why it's such big news. They haven't been caught. My dad says it must have been a powerful dark wizard to get around Gringotts, but they don't think they took anything. That's what's odd. Of course, everyone gets scared when something like this happens, in case you know who's behind it. No mention of that the vault that was broken into was Vault 713, the very same vault that Harry and Hagrid had visited that very same day, a month prior to the report coming out in the movies. Harry turned this news over in his mind. He was starting to get a prickle of fear every time you know who was mentioned. He supposed this was all part of entering the magical world, but it had been a lot more comfortable saying Voldemort without worrying. Why were you not worrying? Because again, Hagrid was the only person you've ever known to use it to talk about this, and he wouldn't say it. So why are you comfortable saying it? Huh, Harry? Huh? What's your Quidditch team? Ron asked, changing the subject. I don't know any. Well, what the fuck is Quidditch? Harry confessed. What? Ron looked dumbfounded. You're surprised that this guy who grew up in the Muggle world knows nothing about Quidditch? Oh, you wait. It's the best game in the world. And he was off, explaining all about the 4 balls and the positions of the 7 players, describing famous games he'd been to with his brothers. And so how are they going to Quidditch games? What games are they going to? How are they affording this? Is this why the Weasleys are so poor? Is because they keep sending their sons off to watch Quidditch games? It would make sense that the Weasleys are poor because they keep going to Quidditch games. They spend all their money on Quidditch games. And the broomstick he would like to get if he had the money. If the family skipped out on one Quidditch game, they could buy a broom. He was just taking Harry through the finer points of the game when the compartment door slid open yet again. But it wasn't Neville the Toadless Boy or Hermione Granger this time. 3 boys entered, and Harry recognized the middle one at once. It was the pale boy from Madame Malkin's robe shop. The pale boy who has not seen enough sunlight. Get Draco outside. Draco needs to spend more time with his peacock. He was looking at Harry with a lot more interest than he'd shown back in Diagon Alley. Oh. Draco's looking at Harry with interest. Oh. That'll lead to some fan fiction. Is it true, he said, they're saying all down the train that Harry Potter is in this compartment. So it's you, is it? Yes, said Harry. Again, one-word answers to Draco. That's all Harry really ever gives Draco, at least so far, is one-word answers. He was looking at the other boys. Both of them were thick-set and looked extremely mean. Standing on either side of the pale boy, they looked like bodyguards. You can be my bodyguard and I can be your long-lost friend. You can call me Draco and I can call you Crab and Goyle. Little Paul Simon there. Oh, this is Crab and this is Goyle, said the pale boy carelessly, noticing where Harry was looking. And my name's Malfoy. Draco Malfoy. Ron gave a slight cough, which might have been hiding a snigger. Draco Malfoy looked at him. Think my name's funny, do you? No need to ask who you are. This is the scene that is now on the train, but in the movie was at the top of the stairs after meeting McGonagall. Another bad change. Let's give us more time on the train. No need to ask who you are. My father's told me all about told me all the Weasleys have red hair, freckles, and more children than they can afford. So are the Weasleys the only red-haired family at Hogwarts? The only red-haired, freckled family at Hogwarts? Isn't Hannah Abbott red-haired a little bit? And there are really that few Irish wizards? Or do the Irish wizards go to a school that is not in Scotland? The Irish have their own school. No UK for us. That was terrible. No. Oh. He turned back to Harry. You'll soon find out that some wizarding families are much better than others, Potter. You don't want to go making friends with the wrong sort. I can help you there. Yes. He held out his hand to shake Harry's, but Harry didn't take it. I think I can tell the wrong sort for myself, thanks, he said coolly. Draco didn't go red, but a pink tinge appeared in his pale cheeks. Draco's blushing. Oh, because Draco's embarrassed. I'd be careful if I were you, Potter, he said slowly. Oh, forgive me. I'd be careful if I were you, Potter, he said slowly. Unless you're a bit more politer, you'll go the same way as your parents. I blame the whiskey. They didn't know what was good for them either. You hang around with riffraff like the Weasleys and that Hagrid, and it'll rub off on you. Both Harry and Ron stood up. Say that again, Ron said, his face as red as his hair. Holy crikeys! How is Ron's face going as red as his hair? Which is actually orange. As So Ron's face is orange. Ron has been sunburned. Oh, you're going to fight us, are you? Well, unless you get out of here now. Unless you get out now, said Harry more bravely than he felt, because Crabbe and Goyle were a lot bigger than him or Ron. So Harry, after dealing with Dudley for so long, is looking at Crabbe and Goyle, who are about the size of Dudley, but two of them, plus another skinny boy like Pierce Polkus. And you're going to face them down, because why? You suddenly got that much more bravery? Oh, right. The toilet hasn't. The toilet hasn't had anything as sick as your head down it. Huh. But we don't feel like leaving, do we, boys? We've eaten all our food, and you seem to have some. Yeah. Goyle reached toward the chocolate frogs next to Ron. Ron leapt forward, but before he'd so much as touched Goyle, he let out a horrible yell. Scabbers, the rat, was hanging off Goyle's finger. Sharp pointed teeth, sunk deep into Goyle's knuckle. Crabbe and Malfoy backed away as Goyle swung Scabbers round and round, howling, and when Scabbers finally flew off and hit the window, all three of them disappeared at once. Poof! Perhaps they thought there were more rats lurking among the sweets, or perhaps they'd heard footsteps. Because a second later, Hermione Granger had come in. What has been going on? She said, looking at the sweets all over the floor, and Ron picking up Scabbers by his tail. So all the sweets got scattered somehow? I think he's been knocked out. Because he was smacked into a window. Usually when a bird smacks into a window, they're knocked out, said Ron to Harry. Or Ron said to Harry. He looked closely at Scabbers. Closer at Scabbers. No, I don't believe it. He's gone back to sleep. That sleepy little rat. And so he had. You've met Malfoy before? Ron asked. But Harry explained about their meeting in Diagon Alley, with Hermione there, too. I've heard of his family, said Ron darkly. They were some of the first to come back to our side after you-know-who disappeared. Said they'd been bewitched. My dad doesn't believe it. He says Malfoy's didn't need an excuse to go over to the dark side because he was always a Slytherin. Harry and Ron turned to Hermione. Can we help you with something? You'd better hurry up and put on your robes, which she told them to do prior. She told them to do this already, like 20 minutes ago. Or more, like an hour ago on the train. I've just been up to the front to ask the conductor, and he says we're nearly there. So Hermione went up to the conductor and said, "Are we there yet?" What an obnoxious little kid. Are we there yet? On a train. You haven't been fighting, have you? Okay, yeah, you showed up a little bit after. You'll be in trouble before we even get there. You'll be expelled. Which is worse than death. Scabbers has been fighting, not us. said Ron, scowling at her. Would you mind leaving while we change? What, Ron? You don't want Hermione to watch you get naked? Not yet. But in another 7-8 years, you will definitely want her. Well, we're not going to talk about that because they're only 11 right now. All right. I only came in here because people outside were behaving very childishly. You are children. You are teenagers at best. At most, the eldest of you anywhere on this train is 17, maybe 18, maybe unlikely. Most likely at most 17. Many of you 11. So of course you're behaving childishly. Why wouldn't you behave childishly when you're 11? Racing up and down the corridors, behaving childishly, racing up and down the corridors, said Hermione in a sniffy voice. And you've got dirt on your nose, by the way. Did you know? Oh, Molly. Ron glared at her as she left, watching, thinking about how much, well, like I said, they're only 11. No, let's not go there. As CinemaSin says, Hermione is too young to be hot yet. In there, everything wrong with Harry Potter. Let's see. It was getting dark outside. Oh, let's see. Ron glared at her as she left. Harry peered out of the window because he had no interest in Hermione. It was getting dark. He could see mountains and forests under a deep purple sky. The train did seem to be slowing down. He and Ron took off their jackets and pulled on their long black robes. Ron's were a bit short for him. You could see his sneakers underneath them. A voice echoed through the train. We will be reaching Hogwarts in 5 minutes' time. Please leave your luggage on the train. It will be taken to the school separately. Harry's stomach lurched with nerves, and Ron, he saw, looked pale under his freckles. Freckled people, red-haired freckled people usually are pale. They crammed their pockets with the last of the sweets and joined the crowd thronging the corridor. The train slowed right down and finally stopped, like trains do when they pull into a station. People pushed their way toward the door and out onto a tiny, dark platform. I just want to go back a moment. Everybody's leaving their stuff on the train. It will be taken up separately. In later years, they have to take their stuff off the train themselves. Specifically when Ron and Hermione are prefects and Harry meets up with Neville and Luna, and Ron then wonders where Pigwidgeon is. Yeah, that's something the movies miss. It's Pigwidgeon. Man, Pigwidgeon is the greatest. That's what I need to say that next time somebody posts in a Facebook group who your favorite character is. I'm gonna go Pigwidgeon. People pushed their way into the corridor and out into the tiny, dark platform. Harry shivered in the cold night air. Then a lamp came bobbing over the heads of the students, and Harry heard a familiar voice. First years, over here. All right there, Harry. Hagrid's big, hairy face beamed over the sea of heads, like thrice as tall as the other first years. Come on, follow me. Any more first years? Mind your step now. First years, follow me. because the first years are going to a vastly different place, vastly different direction than all the other students. Slipping and stumbling, they followed Haggard down what seemed to be a steep, narrow path. It seemed to be a steep, narrow path. It wasn't actually a steep, narrow path, but it only seemed to be. What was it actually? I don't know. It was so dark on either side of them that Harry thought there must be thick trees there. Nobody spoke much. Neville, the boy who kept losing his toad, sniffed once or twice, which was heard all over everybody else's tramping and trotting through the thickets. "You'll get your first sight of Hogwarts in a sec," Haggard called over his shoulder. "Just around this bend here." There was a loud "ooh," probably from one of the Patil twins, I would guess. The narrow path had opened suddenly onto the edge of a great black lake. Because it's night, that is why the lake is black. Perched on top a high mountain on the other side, its windows sparkling in the starry sky, was a vast castle with many turrets and towers. "No more than 4 to a boat," Haggard called, pointing to a fleet of little boats sitting in the water by the shore. Harry and Ron were followed into their boat by Neville and Hermione. Not Hermione and Neville joining Dean and Seamus, like the movies, which I think is what happened in the movies. I think it's Dean and Seamus that are with them. "Everyone in," shouted Haggard, who had a boat to himself. "Right then, forward!" And the fleet of little boats moved off all at once, Haggard using magic. No, just a magic word, and the boats are triggered by this. All at once, gliding across the lake, which was as smooth as glass. Everyone was silent, staring up at the great castle overhead. It towered over them as they sailed nearer and nearer to the cliff on which it stood. "Heads down!" yelled Haggard as the first boats reached the cliff. This is something I really wish was in the movies at all. Even remotely, at any point in time. Not even in Deathly Hallows when Voldemort, Malfoy, and then Voldemort and Snape, or Voldemort and Lucius, and then Voldemort and Snape are in the boathouse. That boathouse is not as is described here. The lake was as smooth as glass, and everyone stood, heads down. As the first boats reached the cliff, they all bent their heads, and the students are having to bend their heads down. How far is Hagrid having to bend his head? And if Hagrid is even able to get under, why are these 11-year-olds not able to just sit straight normally? It should be enough room if Hagrid can get through. But the boats carried them through a curtain of ivy. La 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 da 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 da. Come on and kiss the girl. Wow, wow. That's what it reminds me of. The scene in The Little Mermaid where the prince and Ariel are in the grotto with the seagull singing. Sebastian wins. They were carried along a dark tunnel, which seemed to be taking them right underneath the castle until they reached a kind of underground harbor. An underground harbor. Wow. Where they clambered out onto rocks and pebbles, not onto a nice, neat concrete pier or dock, but they're climbing from the boats onto rocks and pebbles. Oi, you there! Is this your toad? What? What? Said Hagrid, who was checking the boats as people climbed out of them. Trevor! Ah, we do get the name. We do get the name for the toad. It is official, cried Neville blissfully. As blissful as I am to actually have a real name for the toad. Holding out his hand, said he took it, and then they clambered up a passageway in the rock after Hagrid's lamp, coming out at last onto smooth, damp grass in the shadow of the castle. So, this I really, really want actual visualization of. So they're deep under the castle, and they're taking a path, a tunnel, probably has to spiral in order to do this, and then up to the ground surface where there's the lawn of the castle. They walked up a flight of stone steps and crowded around the huge oak front door. Still outside. They have not entered. This is not like in the movie where they are in the hallway on the stone steps. They are still outside. Everyone here, you there, still got your toad? Hagrid's asking about the toad, not McGonagall finding the toad, or not Neville finding the toad at the top of the stairs. It's impossible enough and unlikely enough for Trevor to have managed to get from the train to the boats. And yeah, that's Trevor going from the train to the boats with nobody noticing, without Neville, just following Neville and not getting squished, is unlikely. But for Trevor to have climbed up all those steps and been on the top landing, no. David Yates, no. David Yates was the director of the first Harry Potter, I believe. No. Hagrid raised a gigantic fist and knocked 3 times on the castle door because they're still outside, and they're now going to enter the castle. But we finally made it to the end of chapter 6. Finally. So much took place. So many days took place trying to get through this. I hope I can find the strength and energy in the upcoming days to read more chapters more consistently and actually get through them. I need to find the right balance of weed and alcohol in order to do this. But it is warm. I need to get this shirt off. I put it on because it's easier having the pockets for the microphone, or at least buttons to put the microphone through, than just a white t-shirt. And a white t-shirt just doesn't look very good on here. Black t-shirt could be acceptable, or a gray t-shirt, but not a white t-shirt. It just doesn't look clean, nice, anything like that. But it is hot, so I'm going to, after 2.5 months of trying to get through this chapter, I'm going to stop and get it edited, all put together, uploaded, and am I missing? I'm just, Bibliobabuli is starting with a reading of all the young dudes. So I gotta go now. Ah!